is iRacing. We here at the beautiful circuit of Lime Rock for some of the greatest racing you're going to have. It's multi-class, it's fun, it's historic. It's time to see Audi versus Nissan at this legendary track. Let's take a look at our GSRC guide.
Welcome to Lime Rock Park. Located in the northwest corner of Connecticut, this unassuming little track has garnered a surprisingly passionate following. Its unique aspects create a circuit not only full of character, but consistently challenging even to modern race cars. While it has 4 different possible layouts, on the classic version, only 7 corners are split along a 1.5 mile track with just a single one of them turning left. Though simple in appearance, most drivers will tell you that trying to be fast here is anything but. The run down the front stretch into Big Bend offers pretty much the only viable passing spot, but it's a double apex right-hander which lures drivers into taking it too fast. The uphill is also scary quick considering its lack of runoff and can sometimes cause cars to get airborne over its crest. Then, on the opposite end, the downhill sends cars diving into a quick sweeper which requires a good exit speed in order to defend or attack back into the first corner. Modern racing mostly uses the more recently built chicanes, especially at the uphill. But one of the most unusual facts about this track is that the races are never held on Sunday. Due to a legal agreement with a nearby church, events must take place on Fridays and Saturdays. The confines around this place are tight, the passing opportunities are few, and mistakes are usually punished with race-ending damage. With most other road courses now being built with upwards of 3 and 4 miles in length, this track stands out. But in an age of multi-million-dollar facilities and flashy buildings, this quaint small circuit manages to keep fans coming back with its intimate and grassroots setting.
And it is going to be a great one. It is week 9, and we're at the beautiful, beautiful circuit. Joining me on air is Joseph Black and Christian Deploy on cameras. Joseph, we're at Lime Rock. It is going to be a great one. 47 competitors around this ultra-fast, short circuit.
Exactly, and the whole point is in the short element of it. 46 different cars will be trying to take to this, so we'll be seeing a lot of lapping, we'll be seeing a lot of cars going side by side, and probably a lot of drama as well.
Well, with 7 corners, it's going to be a really hard one for overtaking, but we do think the Nissans have the power to do it. The question is, are they going to have the room? Opened in 27th of April 1957 out in Lakeville. 2.4 kilometers and a whole lot of racing on 40 minutes. It's going to be an interesting battle indeed. But that being said, it is week 9. It is a long championships coming to an end. And let's take a look at our GTP standings. It's Gabriel Martins out with 159 points. Jacob Reed following with 33 behind him. Christoph Oluzniak holding in 3rd. Aleski Umla holding on for 4th. Lars Olsen in 5th. Joko Lesklia in 6th. Andreas Diaz holds in 7th. Emerson Gooden, Andrew Blackman, and Fabian Youngboth hold on to the 10th position of our GTP. How's our GTOs looking like?
Well, we will demonstrate it on the screen as we go, and well, it's a story as old as time. Audrius Valenteus at the top of the order, 125 points, but only 2 ahead of Joni Hagner in 2nd place. Noel Lundberg, Cal Young, Mickey Friesen, all very, very quick drives as well. They could find themselves at the top of the field. At the moment, they're 3rd, 4th and 5th in the standings. Emilio Dachari just 2 points off Friesen. Josh Brain, Brandon White and Roman Bello, as well as Andrea Schuster, are going to round out the top 10.
It's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be close. Championships between the GTPs and the GTOs is tight. This is round 9, 40 minutes of racing, open setups, but no spare car. You bin it, you're out, you watching from the sidelines. Drive-throughs at 17Xs, additional penalties every 25, and no one wants to be going through a drive-through this late into the championship, and especially with a hard push to the end. I mean, Joseph, we're in for an incredible race, but we all know multi-class racing is tricky. Out on this track, I think it's going to be a little bit harder, as Lime Rock, you also get a bit airborne, especially in the GTO, so everything lightens up compared to the Nissans, which, well, they stick to the ground a little bit more.
Yeah, you're really on the edge all the time at this circuit, which is exactly what we want to see. And with the fact that they'll be lapping constantly all of the other drivers, we will have a look to see what the sort of splits are at the moment. Lars Olsen, quickest in his class at the moment, and Brendan Lim has gone quicker. It will be at the moment a 40.7 will be the benchmark with those two drivers. None of the GTOs have come through just yet to set a lap time, so we don't quite know what they'll be able to do yet. Christopher Legensack heads over the crest and flies his way through the track. You can even sense the speed. I mean, sometimes we can look at an off-board shot and we don't quite grasp how quick the drivers are going. For a Legensack here around Lime Rock, that's not quite the case.
It's just all about getting that pace down. You've got to remember, these are manual gearboxes, so no big flappy pedals. There's no traction control, and the drivers are going to have to really keep it all together. Andreas Schuster going and giving it everything he can, currently lying in third place. You can hear a little bit of a lift as he's just trying to feather the car through the corner, dealing with a bit of understeer and trying to keep on the power all the way through. A little lift again, back onto the power, down the main straight, absolutely giving it horns. Is it going to be enough? And it's going to be across the line. Unfortunately, fifth place, managing to do a 49.3. His quickest time, just not enough to beat Noel Lundberg.
Yeah, not quite enough to topple Noel Lundberg, but Josh Brain has done enough, as has Ilka Kotisalo. They've both gone just ahead of Lundberg at the moment. They are all split by 0.066 of a second, but JD Rodriguez goes faster than all of them. 49.2 was the benchmark, Rodriguez 49.0. As the second laps come in, it's now a 48 that's the target. Joni Hagner, 48.910. The splits at the top of the field are practically nothing. It's at the moment Jukka Leskala by 0.013 ahead of a Legensack at the top of the GTP field. So it's incredibly tight. And Noel Lundberg to the top once again.
And with a circuit like this, it's just all about who is brave enough to stand on the throttle. But out on the circuit, hoping to beat a 49.1 as his best lap, it's going to be Andreas Valenteas, who wants to try close up to that first place. Championship leader, wearing the number 1 on the car for very good reason, trying everything he can. Take a look, Gabriel Martins out into first place in the GTP with Jack David Spickett up into second place at 40.4. I mean, these are just absolutely mental times. And if you look at it, there's only an 8-second difference between the Audis and the Nissans around pace. So it's going to be up until the second or third lap. They're going to be through the pack of the Audis, which makes life a little bit more tricky, as Valenteas up into first at 48.7. Absolutely blitzing the time. 0.1 quicker than Noel Lundberg. Lars Olsen coming across the line as hard as he can. Not able to improve just as yet.
Yeah, not quite yet. Gabriel Martinez, in the meantime, up to the top of the GTP field. He got a 40.312, which is 0.3 quicker than Jack David Spickett in second place. So we talked about it being tight at the top, and Gabriel Martinez has proved us completely wrong. Mikko Savalainen has now put himself into 20th place as the qualifying session's coming to an end, I think, for the majority of the drivers. We saw most of them coming out nice and early in this session, but, well, with 2 minutes 46, it's almost right at its end. The only drivers out on track are... well, there's only one of the GTPs, in fact, and that would be Lars Olsen, who I believe has done his 2 lap times. In terms of all of the drivers in the GTO field, there's only 4 of them, and one of them's just coming into the pit lane now. There's only 3 of them now left on the road, so I don't think there's much they can do. Joran van Hicks as well, only just out of the pit lane, but a black flag for him.
It's all about that extra little bit of pace, and a couple of drivers not able to get a time on the board. However, it is just going to be a mad dash and a mad run down to the line. But at the same time, it's worth keeping out on the circuit during qualifying just to try and get some laps in. Everyone trying to find that 0.1 that may be the make or break for their race to stay at the top, but also got to be so careful about track limits as the drivers give it everything they can. Take a look into turn 1. Absolutely mental in terms of pace. Fearless all the way through, but you're going to be moving offline once you start making your way through the GTO field. And Laust at the moment is just doing everything he can to get that last little bit of practice in, feel the car out, see where he needs to be in the rev range, because it is going to be fast, it's going to be mental. And as soon as it gets to lap 3, they're going to be in the Audi GTO field. So you're going to have to know where your racing line is, where you can get on the power, where you can hit the brakes, and also where you don't lose time.
You know what we're not going to be seeing today? We're not going to be seeing too much 3-wide action. And, well, if they do go for it, then it'll be absolute cinema because of just the fact that it's so very tight. You can see even for Laust Olsen there, the corner tightened up as he went. And, well, we're just having a look at Joro van Hicks, the other car out on the track at the moment in the GTP. And he's setting pretty decent times, but he hasn't got a valid one on the board. So he will be peaking out at, well, right at the very back of the field. There's 3 in the GTPs and there's 3 in the GTOs that have not set a valid lap. And off of the road goes the 45. That is not what he would have wanted. And that is not a very healthy looking GTP.
Andrew Blackman going a little too quick through the corner, trying to see if he can stay on the gas a little bit more. That understeer picks up. And one thing with the Nissan the GTPs, every time you try and stay on the throttle, it just will pick up that understeer. It will drag itself off the circuit. So you've got to try and feather the throttle through or get the rear to kick out. Some drivers during practice were actually going and clutch kicking the cars out. Just bring the clutch in a little bit and send it out. But that's the end of our qualifying, and we're getting ready for the race. It's going to be a mental one, and starting with our GTPs, it's Gabriel Martins, Jack David Spickett in 2nd place, Yoko holding in 5th, 6th is Brandon Lim, Laust Olsen in 7th, 8th is Seamus Power, Forbes Marshall, and Luca Monroe round out the top 10. And then we've got Fabian Youngblith, David Ricciardi in row 6, Timothy Reed, followed by Bernard Hosinger, Ray Oliver, Luther Brunner, Tristan Utzinger, along with Andrew Blackman. We saw a little bit off the track. John Tixo Pardio, Laura Mazer holding into row 10, all managing to get a time on the board. And the last of the drivers, it is Jerome Vixier, Pascal Wisen, and Manuel Caro Tejero rounding out the pack. Unfortunately, not able to get a time on the board. How does our GTOs look like?
Well, it will be, of course, that incredible lap from Audrius Valenteus at the top of the field to see him on pole. Noel Lundberg will be alongside him on the front row. Yoni Hagner and Cal Young on the 2nd row of this field. And then JD Rodriguez with a great lap that pretty much came out of nowhere. He'll be alongside Ilka Cottesalo. Josh Brain and Andrea Schuster on the 4th row of the grid. And Emilio Dicciari and Mickey Friesen, split by 3 thousandths of a second, will line up 9th and 10th. On row 6 of the grid, it'll be Roman Bello and Turban Palik, then Brandon White and Adrian Leone, 13th and 14th. Carter Ridley, 15th, alongside Gabby Vasquez, and then Eugenio Massa, Juan Velez, Fabio Nunch and Mikko Savalainen round out the top 20. Of course, 46 cars in this race, and that includes 24 GTOs. Jared Burns the last with a time, Nathan Allen, Paul Villar, and Mark Lockhart, those without.
Well, with a rolling start, a split grid, well, hopefully the Audi GTO is giving a little bit of room. However, this is going to be a mental race of note and all about survival come the end of it because, well, with a monster field like this, you're looking at 47 cars, and there's a stunning shot of these classic machinery making their way around the circuit. I mean, can you think of anything better? Lime Rock, with quite a bit of history to it, also being one of the older circuits out on the iRacing service, getting one of the oldest categories out on the track from the iRacing service itself, other than the Lotus 49. I mean, this is just where multi-class is. This is where my passion lies personally. And, well, with the Audi GTOs, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, but a lot of times to look in the mirrors for the GTPs coming through.
Yeah, there certainly is a lot to look out for with all of these drivers. And this is going to be a sensational race. There's 22 GTPs, and there's 24 GTOs. Keep your eye out on Jeroen van Hicks and Pascal Virchen as well. They'll be starting at the very back of all of the order, but of course they're in GTPs, so they will be trying to fight their way through from 42nd and 43rd respectively. So that's going to be a lot of chasing they're going to have to do, a lot of overtaking they're going to have to do on the GTOs.
And with it being week 9 of the IMSA Vintage Series, it means that it all comes down to maximizing the points. Drivers have been pushing that a little bit more throughout the season, but it can be make or break right here at Lime Park as our pace car leaves and our Audis, Nissans are ready to go. Gabri and Jack holding, and waiting to get off the line as they launch all the way through into turn 1. The Audis not too far behind, tires warmed up. And what a drive coming in, as now our drivers trying to just muscle their way around. So far, the lead has held Jacob Reed up into 4th place, but it is a big run. Noel Lindbergh starting to drop down the order. JD Rodriguez looking for a way past as well. And Carl Young trying to move up into 4th in class, trying everything he can. Josh Brain a little bit further down the order, getting shoved to the outside.
Yeah, he is, and that's not what he would have wanted. But the pretty much second down to 6th with side by side, as that's Laura Meiser off of the road in the bright pink Barbie car. That's unfortunate for the number 36, who's going to drop down into this pack now, slightly off of the road, further back in the order. Trying to have a look at who that would be. That would be a fight between Timothy Reed and Davide Ricciardi, and it would be Reed who went wide, but it's Reed who goes through in the end. So he touched the grass just for a little bit, but the American driver is going to make his way through. Emilio Dicciari looking for a move as well. He can't quite do so just yet, and he's going to be under pressure on the exit by Mickey Friesen.
Mickey's going to give him a good run, and you can see Emilio how hard he's concentrating, how he's battling to keep the car in check with a beautiful driving cam. He's side by side. And Emilio just managing to keep the nose ahead. Mickey all over the back of him. Closing up, backs off a little bit just to try and give the corner. And we'll get the run up the hill. Audi's a little bit of a left, smoke in the distance. And oh, we have got, looks like that's Kutsalo. That is off the circuit and out of the running. Emilio getting turned, but that's Mickey Friesen off into the distance. Mickey into the wall. Hard impact. Looked like it might have been a slight collision on the back, but that is him out of the race. And ow, our GTP. That's Laura Meiser trying to slice his way through the field. Unfortunately, taking a few cars out. Brandon White looking a little bit second-hand out there.
Yes, certainly is. A few more of them off of the road as well. Carl Ridley and Roman Bello going off, and it's fair to say that Laura Meiser just tried to make her way through there, tried to stamp her authority as the GTP, and the GTOs weren't quite there. They're starting to lap already of the GTPs. That's Jack David Spickett through on what is a very second-hand, as you say, Brandon White, who is in, of course, 16th place in class. They're starting to make their way through now, but there is a decent chunk of a gap between 30th and 29th overall. That'll be Laura Meiser who'll be chasing in behind JD Rodriguez and will be hoping to remain in position. Josh Brain dropping a decent chunk of places, as there is a replay of your GTO start.
Oh, and collisions at the start, not going to be the greatest one. JD Rodriguez getting a little bit hoofed to one side, was able to keep it all together. But taking a look back to our chasing pack right now, Nissan GTP, as you said, slicing through the field. Jacob Reed trying to figure out how can he get past Lowski, but can't find how to get around him just with the traffic. So Jacob Reed having to settle, wait, and just hope for an opportunity to open up and not get caught behind the Audis, and going out a little bit wide, nearly getting caught out, but looking for that 3rd place, absolutely hungry. Jacob Reed not wanting to lose out the drive.
No, not wanting to lose out any time at the moment. So Jack David Spickett all over the back of Gabri Martinez trying to go for the move. Jacob Reed in the background, of course, having a look at Jukka Leskala, and he is going to try to make his way through. You can see the bright green and yellow of Jacob Reed running a little bit wide, trying to seek any opportunity, trying to find any gap with those GTOs getting in the way. And they've moved out of the way now, so these drivers can make their way through nice and cleanly. But Jacob Reed still trying to pick up any run he can, as is Christopher Leschnasak, who's just caught up to the back of them. They've been slowed so much that Leschnasak has managed to cut that gap down from what was over a second to now only about 5/10.
It's going to be a mad dash now to see what they can do. Yuko going defensive, trying to go and hold the inside line. He now gets shoved to the outside. And Jacob Reed up into 4th place, but gets run out wide with the Audis. Yuko doing everything possible to try and reclaim some time. And it's going to be a mental one as they're starting to slice through the sharp end of the field of our GTP. Let's take a look at a replay with Yuko. And this is Cotsolo. Oh, having a car spin out and unfortunately collecting the front of his nose into the wall. Not much can be done there. You're a passenger on both ends.
Yeah, not much he could have done at the moment as there goes off of the road another one of the drivers into the pit lane. And that will be, I think, one of the GTOs. At the moment, there is 6 cars with meatball flags out there in the pit lane. Ricciardi, Eisenträger, Pardo, Lockhart and Cotisalo make 5, actually, I can't count, but they will all be with those meatball flags at the moment. Brendan Lim trying to make his way through as well on this traffic to try and keep himself all over the back of Seamus Power. He's done so, and he will be almost alongside Power, but no, it'll be Elation who'll be the one to try to take the advantage and make the move. In the background, that was somebody spinning off. Not quite sure who that was, but that was a huge moment in the background, and it's almost it's almost impossible to keep an eye on everything that's going on as the GTOs jump their way over the crest.
Now just trying to keep it all together. Lesniak now side by side with Brandon Lim, gets the pass, done and dusted past. Brandon in the silk cut colours that usually you see on a Jaguar, but now trying to chase down Seamus Power up ahead in the colours that were originally run by Porsche 956. But for Lesniak, slowly but surely trying to reclaim some positions after a little bit of a rough start, down 1 place from where he started, Seamus up 3 positions from where he started. But hardest charger is Jerome Van Hicks, who sits 6 places up from the place. So Van Hicks right up to the charge, and still a hard charge from him.
Yeah, really a hard charge, and I wouldn't be surprised if he continues it on. The driver who's gained the most place off at the start is going to be Mikko Savalainen, who's gained 9 from his race start, and Cal Young losing a couple of positions, running a bit wide there, and Emilio Dechari, Tubman Palak and JD Rodriguez both making their way through. Cal Young looking very second-hand indeed, and I think that's going to be the course of this day. We're going to get another GSRC replay of what happened to Joram Van Hicks. Roman Bello we're riding on board with in the number 20, and just moving across, trying to take the racing line. That is not what you want to see at all. Just a moment where they were just caught unawares and they went round.
Now that was unfortunately Mickey going and getting turned into the dust and not having an easy one. Take a look. This is another one just right after the incident, and Roman Bello unfortunately getting clipped. And that is not exactly how he wants to go. Laura Lanza trying to slice through the field. You could see flashing quite aggressively of wanting to get back into the fight. However, not turning to be a great one. Roman Bello still out on track, though, to just give it that little bit of a push, looking to try and maximize some points here. A little bit of damage on the car. But that being said, fastest lap of the race was said by Jack David Spickett. And let's take a look. There's Kylie Reid, who unfortunately lands up getting turned and spiked to the wall. A little clip, was able to just reverse it back in time, but not exactly what you want to have when you start seeing all these Nissans coming through. And it is turning into a massive run. Seamus Power trying to keep it all together in 4th place as he comes slicing through the field. He has got some serious pressure on him to try and keep it all together.
Certainly has, and he's actually dropped a position to Jukka Leskala in the meantime, and Christopher Legenasak on the back. So I'm not quite sure what saw Legenasak not quite on the back of Reed anymore, and being chased, or actually becoming the chaser on the back of Leskala, as it might be 3 wide into the first corner. I said they'd be mad if they tried it. They did try it, but Power and Leskala will be alongside each other into the first corner. Seamus Power is going to drop the place, and well, in the end, he will get the overspeed to pick it back up. Leskala in the bright red and green car in behind really looking to have a go at the moment. They can't quite do so just yet. Christopher Legendsack trying to do the same. You can see how close they are by how quickly they're passing each of these wonderful trackside cameras. But at the moment, it's Seamus Power who continues to hold on.
And only just at the moment, Yuko getting a little bit of that dirty error. But let's quickly take a look at one of our GSR replays. And this is Gunteksu Pardo. Oh, spiking into the wall just as the car lightened up over the crest and just flew back into the field. Unfortunately, one of our Audis getting clipped and one Nissan into the wall as well, as we do see a bit of chaos behind as we keep on with the fight. Christoph managing to get past Yuko, but they managed to see one Audi unfortunately exit stage right.
Yeah, unfortunately so. And we've got Bernd Hernsinger, who also has a meatball, as well as Ray Oliver at both at the moment. And Hernsinger is out on the road, so that's unfortunate. Now, Tara Brunner has also just picked up a meatball, so there's quite a few of the GTPs that are struggling to get through on the GTOs at the moment, and you can see why, because it's sort of like the amount of times that all of these drivers are doing it, they will end up having problems. And that's what I'm sure we will see later on, as that was somebody else going very far off the road. One of the GTPs, couldn't quite see who it was. I think that may well have been Ray Oliver, who of course has that meatball flag. But yeah, he's going to drop down the order, and he's going to drop down a couple of laps. Blackman and Hernsinger at the moment, both a lap down on the leader in the GTP field. So not only are they having to work their way through Audi traffic, the Nissans might be starting to get in their way as well.
And let's take a look at one of the replays. This is Andreas Schuster getting overtaken and having to take evasive maneuvers in towards the dirt, utilizing the old West Bank modified colors, the Sasol colors, and he was able to bring it back, but picking up a few incident points on the way through, and suddenly had the fighting trio coming past him. Seamus Power, Elizniak, and Yuko. There's Yuko coming after him. Now it's just trying to give it that big final push. At the moment, Valenteus leads out the GTO field, with Gabriel Martins leading out our GTP field. And this is going to be a hard run. Hang on. Hagener trying to keep it all together in second place, not wanting to lose a little bit of time. You're only going to have to really keep the power down and also be rather cautious heading into turn one, because it's going to be a bit of a wild one. 3 wide, and unfortunately Yuko lands up in the dirt.
Yeah, unfortunately so. Yuko Leskala just about being squeezed out, so that means that he's going to drop behind Lim, behind Legendsack, and he's going to have to make that work all over again in the number 5 to make his way back up to P5, or maybe even further up, with Seamus Power not too far ahead of Legendsack at the moment. But the gap between the pole and Lim behind is going to be about 1.3 seconds, so it's going to be a difficult gap to obtain. Joni Hagner in third place is going to be 3.6 off the back of Audrius Valenteus, and well, it's fair to say that the Ukrainian has run away with this one so far, but 3 seconds isn't that big of a gap if you think about it, as Leskala might be trying to go for the move on Lim, but he can't quite do so at the moment. But Joni Hagner all under pressure from Noel Lundberg behind. But yeah, this is going to get very, very difficult, very tight between some of these drivers, as the Audis are going to have to stay really aware.
The Nissans also have to be rather patient to try and overtake, because it's going to be a race all over in the Toyota Minolta colours, trying to also slice through the field. Joni trying to keep it all together and keeping a very close eye on the rearview mirror. Sees 2 big Nissans coming after him over the crest. Take a look at the jump. Joni trying to keep ahead of Noel Lindberg, but only just at the moment. Noel runs a little bit shallow, got a good drive on him heading into the final corner. Joni having to really keep his foot on the gas, but it's going to be Noel with the slipstream and might be looking towards the inside line. He does, and they're going to go side by side into turn 1. Joni stuck to the outside, Noel up into second, and what a drive from him.
Yeah, what a drive it has been so far from Joni Hagner, and it only looks set to continue. He had the pace to challenge with Audrius Valenteus throughout the course of this championship. Not many points at all splitting them, and he's going to try to close that gap once again. Hagner and Lundberg split by about 0.4 of a second, as it will be side by side between Legendsack and Power. Legendsack on the outside, Power will pick up the inside, but the GTO will get in the way, And so Seamus Power chose the wrong line. The GTO had nowhere to go. And in fact, Power had another look to the inside there. So he's going to challenge. He's going to chance it at places where he might not need to. But just has to be aware.
Just keep an eye on the mirror, slice your way through the field, entrances and apex the whole way through, as unfortunately we got one Audi that went and lost control. Only trying to keep it all together, chasing down Noel, but really giving it everything he can. And let's quickly take a look at an incident. Oh, contact with Yanni. Unfortunately, that threw him out a little bit wide. And I'm picking up a little bit of damage on the car, nothing bad. But it's Yuko going out wide into the dirt. That slipstream did not quite work out. Aero wash, no grip, and all she wrote. Trying to get the run on Brandon Lim, who's now got quite a bit of room between himself and Yuko.
Yeah, quite a bit of room at the moment between the two drivers. 2.5 seconds is the gap, and then it's another 4.2 back to Luca Munro. And Fabian Jungblith is keeping pace with Munro at the moment, the 17 on the back of the 26, and will be trying to chase 4/10 off the back at the moment. And the German trying to find any opportunity here. It's impressive the amount of downforce they're going to have, as they seem to just stick to the track going over the crest. It's always an impressive sight, and JD Rodriguez through. That's another car off the road in the foreground as well. So JD Rodriguez up into 5th place, trying to hold the position. But of course, when the GTPs are there, they're going to have to manage it. Seamus Power making his way through as well. And so that's going to be a little bit of a dropping pace for JD Rodriguez as he lets him through. Not enough to drop a position.
Luca Monroe trying to push hard. Luca has been in a variety of machinery of late and is thoroughly enjoying the classics. So far, trying to give it that extra push to get out towards Timothy Reed just ahead of him. Over the crest they go. Thank heavens for the tunnels underneath this car to suck him to the ground. And he's got a stellar driver. There's an Audi. And whoa, that was a close call with one of our Nissans to a near dead stop. Unfortunately, we got an Audi off, but there was a Nissan that was a dead stop in front of them, and quick reactions were needed to try and keep it all together.
Yeah, really were, and Luca Munro sliding off of the road. So the 26 struggling for grip here at Lime Rock, and just coming back onto the circuit, and he's got to make his way through on all of these GTOs once again. So he'd already done the work, but he's just undone it, so he's going to have to make his way through all over again. A couple of them with a little bit of damage on the cars as well, and Munro is just going to try and make his way through. They will give him a little bit of leeway, but there's not much leeway to be able to give around this 2-kilometre circuit, and so he has to really find his chances. I think he's going to have to be more conscious of where he makes those moves, more than he would in any other car, in any other circuit really. But Munro now, Laus Olsen, is catching up to the back of him, and will be wanting to make the move soon. Emilio Dicciari we can see on board and in his room as well. 7th place at the moment in that field, and he's going to look to try to chase down Andreas Schuster for that position. 5/10 between them. JD Rodriguez leading that pack.
Emilio Dicciari is showing that you don't need to have a really sophisticated setup with direct drives and such. You can go on basic kit and still have a monster amount of fun out on the circuit as he keeps pressure on Andreas Schuster just ahead in the Sasol colours, the modified West Bank colours, and unfortunately now got a bit of a problem. Got fouled up on the exit. Emilio's going to go for the inside. Can't quite get the pass done. Had to try and wait for one of our Nissans to come through. Stuck on the outside. Down through the gears, looking for an undercut. You can hear feathering the throttle, that wastegate opening, as now Emilio looking to try and get that drive. Unfortunately, couldn't quite get it done, as on the top right, Jacob Reed going and trying to see if he can move up through the order.
Yeah, trying to make his way through the order indeed, and in the top right you can see a replay of Jacob Reed trying to make his way through. In fact, a live footage of Jacob Reed trying to make his way through. Dicciari has his car slightly unsettled over the crest. That means he can't quite get the move done. And I think it'd be interesting to have a look at the onboard of Dicciari, or in fact, having a look at him when he crosses over the crest, because you basically have to have the steering wheel dead still, or when you land, you're going to be in a whole world of trouble.
And with that being said, Jack Davis Spigot trying to fight it out for first place. Gabby just ahead, and Jacob Reed right on the tail, hunting down for every opportunity. Jacob Reed, Jack, and Gabby all have
knowledge with one another in a variety of machinery as well, but they've also been fighting it out all season as close as possible. So far, Reed just eyeing out his opportunity to get past Jack David Spickett, and Gabriel Martins just ahead, getting a little bit of a fouled up drive. All three, instead of going on the attack as they try get past Schuster on the inside, they just keeping each other in check, saying, let's not fight too hard here, let's try and keep it all together. But now it's down the straightaway, side by side, and unfortunately, Gabri getting the worst exit out of all of them, swings from first and spins it into turn one.
Oh, Gabri Martinez, that's such a shame for somebody who worked so hard to stay up at the top of the order. Now he drops down and he's out of the fight for the lead, which becomes a two-horse race. Jacob Reed and Jack David Spickett. The UK versus the USA driver on home soil, and at the moment it's Jack David Spickett who leads the way. Reed 5/10 back, and he will really be trying to throw himself into any opportunity. He's sat about 5/10 off of the back of all of the drivers he's chased today. And as we head to a GSRC replay, and well, Jacob Reed is going to try to make his way through. This is what happened to Jukka Leskila in the number 5. There he goes, Mark Webber style into the air. Contact between himself and the 42 of Fabio Nunch, and sees Nunch in the pit lane, and also I think that will be it for Leskila.
Yuka nearly went and launched it into the pits. That would have been one heck of a pit stop. Guys, I'm landing at the pit box. Really? Yep, I'm landing. Bang. Straight onto the ground. Jacob Reed, however, trying to go for that first place, and Jack David Spickett trying to hold on. It's going to be good points for the two of them if they can try and move up and hold that first place. But with 19 minutes left to go, who's got enough left in the tank to really give it that one final push, to really hunt down to go for the top of the podium, and who has got enough to take that deep breath to get the launches down the inside to make it happen. So far, only 11 of our Nissans remain out on track, and 15 of our Audi GTOs going and keeping within their lead laps. But, I mean, this is just absolutely monumental. And, with our top 7 of the Audi GTOs on the lead lap, everyone else about 3 laps down. But Jack David Spickett not wanting to get fouled up by the traffic, really going and looking for every opportunity. However, got a poor run out of the final corner. It's going to be 3 wide into turn 1 with Jacob Reed trying to go around the outside. I mean, this is just monumental. Valenteos just saw these two come hauling their way through and just took a deep breath, lifted, and allowed them to go through.
Well, he went wide. He ran off the road, did Audrius Valenteus. So that closes the gap between himself and Noel Lundberg. That could be a defining moment in the fight for the lead of the GTO field and the GTPs as well. Reed stays 5 cents off of the back of Jack David Spickett, but 3 wide between these drivers was sensational to watch. The number 16 holding station at the moment as they head on to what will be the 32nd lap of this race. And, well, Jacob Reed has kept on the back of the leader all the way through it. Spickett has the opportunity to lead, and he needs to not let it slip now. Gabriel Martinez 8.2 off the back, so I think it's going to be a 2-horse race for this one, as slightly wide for Spickett, trying to seal that place with the GTO so that they didn't make that move back. And Reed all over the back now because he was able to get the momentum and sit there in a little bit of a nicer position, but a couple of the GTOs just getting in the way. Here we go then, Jacob Reed, there's the run, there's not the go, there's not the chance for the number 4 to make his way through on the 16. Jacob Reed sits back once again, he watches, he waits, and you know he's going to take the right time to pounce.
Just so close, trying everything he can, and you can imagine the aero wash coming off the car. I just want to also take my hat off to a couple of the Audis that are still rolling despite the damage. They're going to see it through to the end. They saw the green, they're going to see the checkered, they're going to pick up points. Come hell or high water, it's going to be all about keeping it together. And so far, we're seeing sensational battles out there, and also drivers wanting to just keep it going. Do not want to see a DNF sitting on the cards. And despite there being drop rounds, they don't want to be having this one as that major drop round.
Yeah, that is what we will be looking at the moment, of course. They'll be taking it into account, and towards the latter stage of the season, they'll be having a look at it being a bit more tactical. Another driver that we can have a look at today is Luca Munro. Of course, he was off of the road at one point, but the majority of this race has been pretty well run by the 26, and now he holds a place in the top 10, 9 seconds off the back of Joran van Hicks, but that is only 10 out of 11 of the surviving GTPs. A lot of them have had a bit of a problem at this moment, and that's why 12th place in that field is Jukka Leskala, who retired quite a chunk of time ago, or at least dived into the pit lane quite a chunk of time ago, because otherwise he would have jumped off the screens. Both of the drivers needing to try to make their way through on these drivers with no problems at all. You feel as though once one of them lets their concentration slip, has a sloppy move past the GTO, that will be the chance for the GTP to pounce and either build up that gap or take the lead.
And Jacob Reed, every time he gets close enough, unfortunately, it is an Audi that's in the way that he backs off. What I'm noticing is Jacob Reed is a lot more forgiving. He backs off that little bit more to the Audis. However, Jack David Spickett knows that he needs to keep the run. He needs to keep opening up the gap. He's not afraid to really run it out wide, to take those chances, but it fouls him up every time in the last corner. So he holds the inside line, forces Jacob Reed to the outside every step of the way, and just trying to keep onto that lead is incredibly hard. Jacob Reed, however, you can see a lot more gentle when overtaking traffic. He does not want to get involved in any accidents. He knows that there's 14 minutes left in this race, and he just needs to try and keep it just a little bit close, waiting for Jack to have that problem, to get fouled up or to run out wide, which has been quite close more than once, even just taking a look through the second last corner.
Yeah, it really is at the moment, and well, there's still about 5/10 between them, as there has been all race long. You can see the difference between the GTP and the GTO pace just down that straight alone. And through the corners, relatively similar in fairness, but it's just the straight line speed of the GTPs that just allows the Nissans to blast away and ahead. Johnny Hagner smartly letting the top two in that field go, and they will continue to try and hassle each other on with 13 minutes left to go in this race. The time is running out here for these drivers to make the move, and there's a bit of smoke thrown up. What has happened down at this corner? Emilio Dicciari will be in that 7th place, chasing in behind, who would that be? That would be 6th place, which will be Andreas Schuster. But there was a lot of dust kicked up, so still stuff happening all around the ground.
Schuster's going and just trying to keep it all together with a bit of damage to the right front. Now they're having one of the GDPs that spun out earlier, going to be hunting to try come on by. Schuster runs out wide, losing a little bit of time, and that's going to be Emilio's chance to try go for the inside. He definitely looked for it, couldn't quite get that drive, and now just has to wait it out. Brandon Lim trying to make his way through, going in easily, chopping his way around. Emilio is still the inside line with Schuster stuck out wide, seeing if he can get the drive. Emilio over the curbing, absolutely keeping it pinned. Schuster holds the inside in through the left hand and able just to eke out that little bit of a gap, forcing Emilio back. Now waits out for one of our Nissans to come charging through. Bit of frustration coming in for Emilio as Schuster is not giving an inch. He knows that he is not going to win in straight line power, but if he can just position that car, it's going to be an absolute monumental run.
And he knows that Dicciari will take a mile, and that's exactly what Jacob Reed will take as well off the back of Jack David Spickett. They're making their way through not only on the GTOs, but also the GTPs, trying to just slice their way through that order. I believe that was Lars Stolzen and Luca Munro. They made their way through on just a second ago, and now there's going to be 6/10 splitting the two drivers, but there's no straight line speed in the way for Jacob Reed even, which allows the opportunity for Jack David Spickett to just take that advantage there and have the biggest gap that he's had since Gabri Martinez had that incident. It's now up to 6/10 of a second, a little bit more breathing room. It's not much, but it's honest work.
Well, just give it up to Luca, keeping up that little bit of drive. Hardest charger is actually in the 8th place, and it's Jerome Van Hicks who holds on to 8th place, 13 positions up. Luca giving it everything he can. See, the EV hasn't evolved as yet to go and get that little bit of a drive as he heads over towards the crest
just a little bit of room between himself and Yoram at the moment. But man, oh man, it's going to be a monumental run to try and get that 8th place.
Oh, it really is. He's going to have to really give it a go for now, and well, we will have to wait and see as to whether he's going to be able to pick it up late on in this race. We are about 3/4 of the way through, which means we only have 10 minutes and 55 seconds left in this one, and the battle for the race lead still not yet decided. Also, an update in the GTO field, and that is that Aldris Valenteus, after going wide, hasn't been able to eke up that gap once again. It hasn't come down by much, but Noel Lundberg only 2.2 seconds off the back of Valenteus now, so that one may not be all said and done. Hagner only 3 seconds off of the back now. He was chasing Lundberg. He's not quite as close, so I think it's going to be all down to these drivers to try to catch, and you can see them throwing themselves over that crest now. Lundberg a little bit less than Valenteus, and I think the Ukrainian is very much pushing.
Looking in the mirror, seeing the number 3 closing down like a stealth bomber. Yoni not too far behind as well, keeping a very close eye. It takes one mistake to switch up our top 3, and it's going to be a monumental run as Andreas Valenteus up to 11th overall and managing to keep on a stellar drive. It's about survival at the moment. Everyone looking to move forward. Luca under some serious pressure, trying to hold back Lars Olsen, who is all over the back of him, really keeping in that slipstream. Luca wanting to keep his eyes firmly focused, tensing up. He does try and get a little bit of a late break, trying to avoid the Audis, but it's going to be Last on the inside, who just tried his luck. Unfortunately, no room to get on by. Luca, like a cat with 9 lives, was able to use one there.
Yeah, he certainly was. If he's got 8 left, then he's going to be in for a hell of a ride at the end, although I think he might have used them, a couple of them up already. We're going to have another GSRC replay, just having a look at what happened to Christoph Leschensack a couple of laps ago, and well, the number 13 will have a look, and the car ahead span and just collected a Leschensack with him. That's the levels that you have to be at. As well, we will have a look what's happened for Luca Monroe, looking to the outside of Laus Olsen. Couldn't quite pick up that position, so they will remain in battle. They will remain locked in that fight, and well, for a Leschensack, that'll be the end of his competitive race at least.
Laus trying to keep it all together, and the difficulty is they're starting to overtake through their own field as well. And that's just making life a little bit more tricky. The Audis you can outpower, and you've got the aero to go and carry on through. However, when you start fighting your own class, well, you just better hope that they can come off the throttle and allow you to come on by, which the drivers are doing. Our leaders are going to be going and fighting their way through as well, because they're going through the Audi GTOs. They're trying to go through the GTPs. Jacob Reed trying to close up at a rate of knots with Jack David Spickett caught behind one of the back markers of their own class that is fouling him up ever so slightly and allowing Jacob Reed just to get that little bit closer, forcing Jack to go a little bit more wild. Gets in through, threading the needle. Both of them go on by. Timothy Reed stuck on the inside. He's trying to keep a stellar run, but also going and forcing Jacob Reed onto a little bit of an unsettling line out towards the marbles.
Yeah, just unsettling the car. That's not going to be what he wants. Jack David Spickett at 6 tenths ahead of Jacob Reed at the moment and holding that position. Valenteus is being closed down by Lundberg. That gap is now 1.7 seconds, so that is getting closer and closer. We've had a lot of drivers fail and falter in this race, but Jack David Spickett has kept it on the road, but he's just got into the back of a GTO. Not sure who that was, but they've just had a massive moment. Just contact between themselves and the race leader. Was that Roman Bello who had the contact? Just went into the back of the 20, and that is a huge crying shame that has seen Jacob Reed up to the lead.
Just enough to go and tip him there, but now Jack Davis Spickett got a little bit of work to do. The question is, has he picked up a bit of damage on the nose of the Nissan? And will that cause a major effect? Jacob Reed, who's been now chasing for majority of the race, has to now keep it all together in the front. And the question is, can he keep it going? Jack David Spickett into the dirt, trying to go around the outside.
He knows this is a big push. Jack has been a Lotus 79 champ. Jacob has been an IMSA champ. Both of them know each other incredibly well in the vintage side. But now it's giving it that big push. But Jack David Spickett, I think, with too many mistakes, is losing too much time. And Jacob Reed is going to just have to coast it through to the end. Let's take a look at Mark Lockhart, who unfortunately got clipped by Jack David Spickett on the exit. Jack tried to go underneath him, and unfortunately for Mark, it was a big off into the wall. He's been having a terrible time out on track trying to see it through to the end. Schuster, mine's out of the way, allows our second place Jack David Spickett to come through, not wanting to be caught out. But take a look at Jack taking some really late moves, trying to fight his way. He's feeling the pressure right now. With 5 minutes to go, there's still plenty laps to try and get it done, but it has to close a monumental gap of 2 seconds. Timothy Reed, unfortunately, landing up in the dirt and managing to get his car going. He's in 8th place, but we'll keep an eye because Last will be getting close to him. Noel Lindberg trying to move up through the order. He's got Valenteus ahead of him. Now, we usually see Valenteus checked out and gone after one critical mistake. It looks like he hasn't been able to keep it going, and the tires seem to be falling off on Valenteus. Well, Noel, more than happy to start closing up. More than a second, as they do have one of the Nissans going off in front of them. But listen, Noel did not come off the throttle. He knows this is his chance. This is his chance to take the win as he jumps over the curbing, really pushing onto the track limits there.
That is when you know your car. We've seen Noel Lundberg racing many a time in the Audi 90. That is exactly what you can do when you know your car. As well, Luca Monroe, there goes another one of his lives. I think he's down to 6 now in this race. And, well, he slid off of the road back down to 10th place. But in the end, not too bad in terms of positions lost, because now he is down to last in the GTP field. Yes, but he still remains in the top 10 because 11th place Forbes Marshall is 9 laps down on Monroe. So it's not necessarily ideal. And, well, Valenteus has been able to get that gap up a little bit more as they've faced a little bit of traffic. 9/10 of a second between them. 4 minutes to go. This one, I don't feel as though is over at all, though. Let's keep your eyes on that gap between the two at the top of the GTOs, even if Jacob Reed, now that he's made his way through on Jack David Spickett, appears to have checked out.
Well, with Noel unfortunately getting boxed in a little bit earlier, he lost a bit of time to Valenteus, but was able to close it up in a rate of knots. Noel is a man on a mission at the moment to try and keep that fight going. He is absolutely hungry to make it work, as unfortunately that looks to be the 13 of Christoph Lesniak falling off the circuit and down the order. 13th in class, 25th overall, trying to recover some time, and unfortunately having to fight through the field that ahead of them are not getting the blue flag. They are a lap ahead of him.
Yeah, they really are at the moment, and that means that they can try to make their way through. Jack David Spickett trying to make his way through on the GTOs. He will have in mind, in the back of his mind, as far as it might be at the back of his mind, he will still be thinking about the contact that he had with the GTO earlier, that of course was not Roman Bello. It was Mark Lockhart who he went into the back of, but now trying to make his way through, and he's made his way back up to the leader of the pack of the GTOs, and will be trying to get through on Audrius Valenteus before too long. Noel Lundberg will be hoping that all of this traffic is going to be slowing down the Ukrainian, with only one real more opportunity to make his way through. Further back, Carl Ridley is going to be racing. Juan Velez, both of them are massively looking worse for wear, shall we say, in both of those cars. They'll be struggling for that grip towards the end of this race. Ridley is the car off the back, and Juan Velez is the car in the lead a bit.
Modified aero package, assisted by other vehicles and by Onco barriers. But it seems that it's going to be Carl Ridley with a little bit more straight line to get past. They'll also be watching the temperature gauge starting to climb quite a bit. And Juan Velez now falling behind all the way out from Colombia, pushing as hard as possible. Down to 12th in class behind Carl Ridley, as we now down to a minute 33 And at the moment, a couple of drivers still in for a race of a lifetime. Timothy Reed trying to close up the gap, sitting in 8th place, has managed to get away from Lars Olsen, but now just needs to keep that little bit of room and see if he can close up to Van Hicks just ahead.
Yeah, he certainly will. Of course, Van Hicks is just ahead. Noel Lundberg's through on Audrius Valenteus. Something has happened to the leader of the GTO field that's seen him drop last minute, and there is damage. There is a lot of damage on the front of that GTO. What has happened to our impenetrable right before the end of the race? Under a minute left to go then, and Valenteus' victory has slipped from his hands. Lundberg looks like he's going to take it. Can Joni Hagner close that 8-second gap?
It's going to be a hard one. Let's take a look at the replay of what happened down in towards the second last corner, and it was contact with the Nissan, which unfortunately on the rear wing going and causing a bit of front end damage. That is going to be an absolute pain. Bit of aero work to be done, and you will hear the clattering of the bonnet as well inside the car. He knows that he's in for a hard time, and all he can wish is Noel to get fouled up hugely at the moment. Jacob Reed, however, was going and getting chased down. He was absolutely pushing as hard as he can. He will cross the line to go and get one more lap in just as he comes through. Jacob Reed managing to give it one big push down to the wire ahead of Jack David Beckett in second place. That saw Gabriel Martinez out in first, slipped down to third, 11 seconds back, but I don't think it's completely done yet. Jacob has to keep the car alive. There's a 1.7 second difference between himself and Jack David Spickett. It takes one mistake, one loss of control, one moment to get it wrong. Through the final corner he comes. Jacob Reed absolutely hauls it through to the line. It's the number 4 that takes it. Jacob Reed finishes in first place. Jack David Spickett closed up right down 0.9 of a second. And what a run with Noel Lundberg ahead of Andreas Valenteus. Joni Hagner going and finishing up in third place. Gabriel Martins managing to keep it going and finishes up in third. Noel going and lifting off in the Audi GTO. Did a stellar job, and will be around the final corner taking the victory in the Audi. Survival of the fittest and managing to get it all the way ahead of the championship leader.
Yeah, Audrius Valenteus struggling there at the end of the race, but he held ahead of Joni Hagner, so he extends his championship lead over what was his rival. I wouldn't be surprised if Noel Lundberg, though, can make his way into the fight. He was one of those that I was looking out for pre-race. I was looking out for Lundberg, I was looking out for Cal Young, and then, of course, Valenteus and Hagner. Cal Young, for him, it did not go as well as he would have wanted it to, ending up 10th place in class. But for the top 3, they ended up on the podium because, of course, my focus is usually on the GTOs. But over to the GTP results.
Oh, great four-wheel slide coming in from Noel Lundberg. Well done there. That's absolutely great. But let's take a look at the GTP results. It'll be Jacob Reed that took the victory ahead of Jack David Spickett. Gabriel Martinez holds on to third. Seamus Power up into fourth. Brandon Lim followed by Fabian Youngblith. Jerome Van Hicks, Timothy Reed, Lars Olsen, and Luca Monroe rounding out our top 10. And still a run from there. And unfortunately, it was all about survival. Forbes Marshall, Christopher Lesniak finishing in 12th. Yuka Leskela going and landing up with a big impact. David Rocchidi, Andrew Blackman, Ray Oliver, Tristan Edstringer, John Tixer Prado, Bernard Holsinger, and Lotto Brana rounding out the field in 20th, 45 laps down. And Laura Mouser was part of the earlier incidents, unfortunately down in 21st. Pascal Wisen and Manuel Caro Tejero rounding out 58 laps down in 23rd. And taking a look at our GTOs, Joseph.
Yeah, and 58 laps, of course, is the length of race for them. 51 for the GTOs, and it was Noel Lundberg who took the victory after all of it with Audrius Valenteus in second place. They were the only drivers on the lead lap. Joni Hagner, JD Rodriguez in third and fourth. Andrea Schuster and Josh Brain fifth and sixth, with Emilio Dicciari, Turban Palek, Mikko Savalainen and Cal Young rounding out the top 10. Savalainen and Cal Young 2 laps down. The field pretty well split. Carl Ridley in 11th and Juan Velez in 12th. They were very close together at the end. Roman Bello at 2 laps off of the back of Velez, and then Eugenio Massa in 14th place. Nathan Allen 7 laps down, then Ilko Cotesalo, Gabby Vasquez, Adriana Leone, Fabio Nunch and Brandon White rounding out the top 20. And of course these are the retirements, and we did have 24 in the GTO field. Friesen, Lockhart, Villa and Burns are going to be the drivers who round out the entire field.
47 cars started. Unfortunately, not many got through to a line. Emilio Dicari coming into the commentary box. Emilio, well done on a stellar drive out there. Looked like an incredible amount of work and focus needed, getting 7th overall. How are you feeling?
Well, yeah, this was a tough one, you know. Yeah, very concentrated during the world race. I'm very happy because, as you say, 7th place is really good for the overall championship, also for the junior championship. And yeah, it was a race for survive today. I have a good pace, which I'm very happy about. And I have a close battle with Andreas Schachter. At the end, I have a moment with the GTP, and I lost a bit of distance with him. And yeah, we were really equal in the pace, and I couldn't get back again on his rear. So yeah, but I'm happy with this 7th place.
Well, around the outside and fighting side by side. Looking forward into the championship, going into week 10 next week. How's the confidence feeling, and what is the plan to charge your way to the top, not only in the Audi GTO, but as you said, in the junior championship?
Yeah, Long Beach is a special track for me. I get my first win there, so I'm very confident, and I know that I don't need to get some very crazy, because with a great result, only being top 10 and in front of everyone of the GTU, I could be champion, I think. And for the overall, yeah, I hope to get on the top split and try to get another great top 10 for the overall standing as well.
Now, that being said, Emilio, anything you'd like to say to the drivers, to the teams, to everyone out in the virtual grandstands here at GSRC, going and cheering on, watching the IMSA Vintage Series and getting to see you battle side by side around an incredibly fast circuit?
Well, thank you guys, and yeah, thank you to all the people, to obviously all of you guys for the broadcast, to all the people who is watching, and yeah, for to the guys, we have a great battle, and I'm really happy to keep enjoying this car and this track as well.
Absolutely, well done, Emilio, on that 7th place and started in 9th. What a climb up through the order, Joseph. It's been an interesting fight, but neck and neck battles the whole way through, and you managed to catch up with Luca Monroe.
Yeah, Luca, I mean, it was a ridiculous race in terms of action going on, and it seems like you were in the thick of it. Do you want to just talk me through that one?
I mean, oh yeah, that was thrilling, honestly. I remember when so many people got into a big hoo-ha about the fact that the special event was moved from Road America to Laguna Seca because it's not as fit in a multi-class track. I say move it to Lime Rock, because that was incredible. So much happened that I'm kind of lost for where to begin, really. There was one point when I was behind a limping Audi, and I caused Gabriel Martinez to spin. I've already reached out to him to apologise for that, but I hope he understands why I couldn't really go anywhere. There was a point when I think was entering lap 37 for me, but a guy who was coming to lap us thread the needle. It was awe-inspiring. I'm glad that I came home at all, really, without having to be. I mean, I did get some damage at one point, and I don't know how much that affected me, but I did spin twice following that, so maybe it did. So I'm just happy to make it to the end. I'm really. That was an incredible race, and also, if I'm not mistaken, I'm looking at the YouTube chat now. Someone was asking, Getu V12, is that a giant dual sense controller? Yes, sorry about that. I assume I was on screen for a moment.
You were indeed. You provided one of two great perspectives of the drivers watching on board. So thank you very much for that one, of course. But yeah, it was just, it just seemed to be absolute carnage in and around where you were, nearer the back of the surviving GTPs. But I mean, you were in the thick of it the first lap. Of course, you started in that 10th place in what was a 22-car GTP field, which very rapidly came down. Just what was it like during that first lap trying to navigate through everything going on?
Well, the car is very... Look, I only got the car this season because I was going to do the special event. I've never driven it before, but it's just a dream to drive. Very like tricky on the throttle. It's even more tricky for me at the moment because I broke my foot back in January and I have to keep blipping the throttle with it, and it's a little bit painful, but I'm surviving. It was kind of actually quite tame, but it didn't take that long for us to catch up to the Audis. So yeah, it was just, I think a lot of people. Oh yeah, at one point there were these two GTPs who had just gotten ahead of me, and a poor Audi driven by a guy who I can't say his name, but I think it's Paul, P-O-U, and yeah, he had every right to be annoyed there. It was just a perfect storm of unfortunate events there. I was just trying to be precautious. I saw like another incident where an Audi was jumping across the chicane. We're obviously using the old layout, and me and the guy ahead, we just lifted off the throttle and waited, because if we'd have gone for that, we would have been taken out. Yeah, we're just trying to err on the side of caution, and that's how you make it through these races.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a race of attrition, especially with the layout that we had today, with such a tight track and
I love this track.
Cars. It was great. Next up, though, Long Beach. So we're staying in America. What have we had a look at that yet?
Am I doing it? I don't know. I have my schedule. Let me just look at it here. Oh yeah, I won't be able to because I am racing the Nordschleife in my Cadillac GTP. So unless you guys are planning on running a different SOF time slot, I won't be making it, I'm afraid. As much as I'd like to, 70 minutes around Long Beach, but I can't pass up doing Nordschleife in my Cadillac GTP. Like that doesn't come along very often.
Yeah, 100%. Well, enjoy that then, and we'll let you go. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely wonderful to have a catch-up with Luca. Always a bit of fun to go and hear from it, and lots of busy action. With that being said, there is tons of action right here at GSRC, and coming up next week for the IMSA Vintage Series, we head out to Long Beach Street Circuit Racing on the 23rd of May, 1700 UTC. It's going to be close, it's going to be tight, and those walls are calling. Who's going to be able to stay at the sharp end of the field? After seeing what happened here at Lime Rock, I think it's going to keep the drivers rather busy. But also happening on the incredible channel. Our director, Christian Deploy, giving us all the action here today. It was wonderful to have him on cams. Joseph Black going and giving us all the serenading tunes and giving all the insights as well. Massive thank you, Joseph. And all the cameras provided by Dougie Beard right here at the GSRC. And coming up tomorrow, Classic Lotus Grand Prix at Miami, a street circuit for a bit of fun, and it's going to be an incredibly close run. Then we head over to Tuesday, 19th of May, Porsche Owners Club, head over to the Nordschleife, full-on 24-hour layout to go and fight their way to the top. Skip Barber on Thursday at Circuit Villeneuve, and also our Grand Prix Tour going to Gilles Villeneuve. This is going to be a great week coming up, and you don't want to miss it. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon, leave a like as well. It was a great one. Show the support for the IMSA Vintage Series. And from all of us here at GSRC, we'd like to thank you all for joining us out in the virtual grandstands. And like always, a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.
This is iRacing.